Leslie Hassan. Welcome to Everyday Dish. Today I want to show you how to make one of my favorite seitan recipes. It's for Susan's Ribz. And yes, that's ribs with a Z, not with an S. So they're completely vegetarian and vegan, and they are delicious. And the best part of all is that they're really simple to make. Now, Susan generously shared the recipe with us, and she has a blog called The Fat-Free Vegan, which you should check out. It's a great blog. And for this recipe, you can find it on our website, which is everydaydish.tv. So you don't have to worry about measurements yet. I'm going to walk you through the recipe, and you can print those out on the website. So to begin with, we have some gluten flour. Now, sometimes it's just called vital wheat gluten. Sometimes it's called gluten flour. It can be a little confusing, but what I do is I just look for the Bob's Red Mill brand, because then I know for sure it's exactly what I'm looking for. So we're going to start off with our gluten flour, and then to that we're going to add a little bit of nutritional yeast, which adds a great flavor, lots of B vitamins, protein. It's a really nice touch for it. Smoked paprika. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with smoked paprika, but if you're not, you've got to track it down because it's so good. It has a nice smoky flavor to it and smell, and it doesn't have any heat. There's a mild and there's a hot one, but I'm using the mild one. So I've got that. Onion powder, granulated. Actually, it's not onion powder, it's granulated onion. So if you see both of them, pick the granulated onion. Granulated garlic, and I put a dash of salt. And you just mix those together. I mean, this is really easy to make. Normally, seitan recipes can be a little bit more complicated than this. Okay, and then we have water, to which we're adding soy sauce, and a little bit of liquid smoke, which gives it the ribs a really good flavor. And then some peanut butter. Now, if you have any sort of nut allergies and you don't want to use peanut butter, you don't have to. You could use tahini, you could use cashew butter, you could use soy nut butter. There's so many different options you could use. Even sunflower butter is really good. So you want to just take that and whisk it together. Now, at this point, you'll see it's a little hard to get it to dissolve, so it takes, a minute or so, just kind of whisking it in the water to get it to break up. You just want to whisk it until it's fairly mixed in there. Okay, this is mixed together as well as it's going to. Unless you have a hand blender or a stick blender, this would be a great place to use it. But we're going to call that good. And we're going to just go ahead and add it to our dry ingredients there. Now, here's the best part. You don't have to mix it into a mixer. You don't have to knead it. You just whisk it together with a fork just until it's combined. Now, Susan suggests kneading it for a few minutes, but I have found that it pats into the pan much easier if you don't knead it, because the gluten hasn't had a chance to activate yet. And what the gluten is it's the protein in the wheat, and it tends to kind of fight back if you start to work it too much. Oh, and another point, don't use hot water in this. Use cool water or warm room temperature water, because what happens is that will start to activate the gluten as well, and it'll start kind of stringing up on you and be very tough to work with. Okay, so now we have our gluten. I know it doesn't look like much yet, and I have a greased 8-inch pan, and I'm just going to pat this into the pan. Now, you want to try and make it an even layer. It might take a couple minutes just to kind of form it and shape it. Okay, we've got that together. Now what we do is we score it. So to score it, we're going to kind of slice down the middle like that. And you want to cut into it, but you don't need to cut all the way through. And then what you want to do is you want to cut it into strips. Now, of course, these are eventually going to be our ribs, and this is how they'll come apart. And then I cut each section into 4 strips. This is probably the most tedious job of the whole part of the recipe, but it's really quick and easy. So it doesn't take long, but it does help if you have a very sharp knife. Okay, this part is done. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bake it. So I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and we're gonna bake it for about 30 minutes. You'll see when it comes out, it's nicely puffed, but it's not too puffed, and it's almost cooked all the way through. So we're gonna bake that for 30 minutes, 350 degree oven, and then we get to do the grilling. Oh, these look great. See, this is what you're looking for. They're kind of puffed. They don't look like a whole lot yet, but just you wait. All right, and now, come on over. This is what we're gonna do now. We're gonna cut the ribs in half, right down the center like that. Okay. Then what I have over here is I have a seasoned cast iron grill pan. I love the cast iron grill pans because they get nice and hot. They really retain the heat, and at the same time, they're really easy to clean. And every time you wash it and coat it with a little bit of oil when you're done, it winds up creating this sort of non-stick, not non-stick like you would think of a non-stick pan, but like a non-stick interior. So it's great to have. So I've lightly oiled it. Now I'm going to also give it just a little spritz, like that. And don't worry, the ribs will stick a little bit, but it's not a big deal. Okay, and then I'm going to pull out half of the ribs. Okay, once you've loosened them, this is where I like to brush them with the not olive oil. This is where I like to brush them with barbecue sauce. Use whatever your favorite barbecue sauce is. It could be smoky, it could be a little sweet, whatever you like. Use that on the ribs. Would probably be really great too with like a hoisin sauce or something like that too. Something that's a little sweet, kind of smoky, spicy. Okay, so I have my dish. I find it works really well just to kind of spoon it on, and then with the back of the spoon, just kind of rub it all over. So you want to completely coat the top of the ribs here, because when we put them on, that's going to be what starts to caramelize and cook on the grill pan. Okay. Now, if you don't have a grill pan, you could just do it on a griddle. A griddle would work fine. You don't have to have those little lines in there. Okay, so now we've got them. And then I take them and I flip them over right onto the hot grill. See, it still doesn't look like much, but trust me, when these are done, they are amazing. I wish I had invented this recipe, but Susan has quite a recipe here. Okay, so we're going to put another layer on top. And then when we flip them over, that side will start to caramelize. Oh yeah, these look perfect. They're ready to turn. So we're gonna flip them over. We're gonna brush this with just a little bit more barbecue sauce. And like I said, I just go back and forth for probably about 15 minutes or so until they are just really nicely coated. They're caramelized. That's when they're at perfection. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and while I let these cook, I'm gonna show you, I made these yesterday, and I like them even better when they refrigerate overnight because they get chewier and they just have this amazing texture. But this is what they look like, and you can see they separate into little riblets, and they're great. So thank you so much for joining me for this recipe and many other fantastic recipes. Go to everydaydish.tv, and thanks again for joining me. Go make ribs.